Okay, so I want you to close your eyes for a second. Picture a sprawling, rhythmic industrial complex.
Okay.
But not, a dirty factory. Think of something really sleek, almost biological.
Like a living machine.
Exactly. A huge system of pipes and valves and pressure gauges. It has this constant hum, this pulse. It's just designed to flow.
And then you walk into the control room, past all the warning signs, and you just smash this giant red button, the one labeled emergency stop.
Yeah. The hum dies, the valves slam shut, the flow just halts.
But the input, the energy, that doesn't stop.
No. And the pressure gauges, they start to twitch, the needle creeps into the red. And that's really the scenario we're stepping into today.
We're not talking about a literal machine, of course.
No, we're talking about the human body. And specifically this modern internet-fueled obsession with jamming a wrench in the gears of our own systems.
It really is the ultimate test of that whole mind over matter idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're dissecting the phenomenon of the 30-day abstinence challenge.
Right. You might know it as No Nut November or NoFap or the whole retention movement.
Yeah, depending on what corner of the internet you're on.
And before anyone thinks this is just, some meme review, it's not. We're looking at a massive, voluntary biological experiment that millions of people are doing.
And the premise is so simple.
It is. If I deny my body its most fundamental biological urge for 30 days straight, what happens? Do I break the machine?
Or do you upgrade it?
Exactly.
That's the real question here. Is this about damage control? Or is it about unlocking some kind of hidden human potential?
Because if you listen to the internet, the claims are just wild. They range from it's a fun discipline test all the way to
You will literally grow wings and vibrate at a higher frequency.
right, the superpower narrative. We're definitely going to get into that. But I want to start with the reality of the movement itself because it has really evolved.
Oh, absolutely. It's changed a lot.
I remember hearing about this maybe back in the early 2010s on Reddit, but it felt different then.
It was very different. If you trace it back, it really came together around 2011 on forums like Reddit's Are No Fap.
Okay.
And back then, it was almost treated like a recovery program. It was a reaction to the explosion of high-speed internet porn.
So it was about rebooting.
Exactly. The conversation was all about rebooting. Guys felt like their dopamine receptors were just fried, burnt out by this constant high-novelty stream of content. They wanted to get back to a baseline.
So it starts as a digital detox, stop watching screens, but then somewhere along the line, it morphs into stop releasing at all.
It did. And now you have all these different factions. You have the semen retention crowd, which is almost spiritual.
This idea that your fluids are your life force or something.
Right. And then you hear terms like gooning, which is confusing because, half the time it's used to mean the exact opposite of the challenge.
Yeah, we should probably define these because they've got to affect the biology differently.
They do. So NoFap is usually about breaking a compulsive habit, that behavioral loop of porn and masturbation. Semen retention is the physiological act of holding back ejaculation, sometimes for months, with that belief that it recirculates energy.
And gooning.
Well, that's the polar opposite. That's a trance-like state of prolonged edging. We're talking hours of high stimulation with no release.
Which sounds like a dopamine nightmare if you're trying to reset your brain.
It is. Gooning floods the brain with dopamine, whereas the whole point of the challenge is to starve that pathway. But for today, we're really focusing on that retention part, the 30-day hard mode challenge.
Total cessation, no partner sex, no solo play.
Cold turkey.
Okay, so let's get into the engine room. Let's say I'm a guy. I decide I'm going to be a monk for November. I stop the release, but my body's still producing sperm, right? The factory doesn't just shut down.
That factory never closes. And this is where the biology gets so fascinating
Yeah.
and where all the misconceptions start. Spermatogenesis is continuous. Your testicles are producing millions of sperm every single day. The common fear, or, the joke, is that you're just filling up a tank that's eventually going to burst.
The whole blue balls theory, that if you don't release, you're backing up the plumbing or causing damage.
Which is largely a myth. But it's a myth based on a misunderstanding of how the body works. The body is not a storage tank. It's a dynamic ecosystem.
Okay.
When sperm cells are made, they move into the epididymis, that's the storage tube behind the testicles, to mature. If they're not released, they don't just keep piling up forever. They have a shelf life.
So what happens when they expire? Does the body just flush them?
It's actually more elegant than that. The body uses a process called phagocytosis.
Phagocytosis.
Yeah, so white blood cells in the lining of the epididymis literally break down the old sperm cells. They dismantle them, and the nutrients, the proteins, the lipids, are just reabsorbed into the bloodstream.
So it really is a recycling plant.
It is a super efficient metabolic cleanup crew. The body just realizes, okay, this genetic material is past its prime, let's reclaim the resources. So biologically, there's no backup.
But there is still the fluid, right, and the prostate.
Exactly. That's the other part of the equation. Because sperm is only a tiny, tiny part of the volume. The rest is seminal fluid.
And that's where the pressure feeling comes from.
That's it. While the sperm gets recycled, the prostate and seminal vesicles can become congested. And that's what leads to that feeling of fullness or that mild ache people describe in the first week or two. The technical term is vasocongestion.
Vasocongestion. So that's the scientific term for blue balls.
Essentially, yes. It's blood and fluid trapped in the tissues without the release that would normally flush it all out. But, and this is the kicker, the body has a release valve for this too. You can't just override millions of years of evolution with a calendar challenge.
You're talking about nocturnal emissions.
The wet dream. It's the body's safety override. There was actually a study that tracked this, and the correlation is undeniable. As voluntary release goes down, involuntary release goes up.
So the body just takes over.
The body will clear the pipes if it needs to, usually while your conscious mind is asleep and can't object.
Which has to be frustrating for people doing it for discipline reasons. They feel like they failed, but it's just their body doing its job.
Exactly.
Now, I want to pivot a bit because we almost always frame this as a male issue. But plenty of women do these challenges too, for solidarity or for their own kind of dopamine reset. Does the female body react in a similar way?
Well, the principle of flow versus stagnation definitely applies, but the mechanics are different. For women, we have to look at the vascular system.
Okay.
Sexual arousal and activity drive a massive amount of blood flow to the pelvic floor. It's a really crucial part of tissue health and oxygenation.
So if you go from, being sexually active to zero, is there a physical withdrawal period?
Oh, absolutely. There's a condition that's pretty similar to the male experience, sometimes called blue vulva or pelvic congestion.
Right.
If a woman is used to frequent release, stopping abruptly can lead to a sense of heaviness, a dull ache in the pelvis, the tissues are engorged, and just waiting for that release that signals the blood to return to the rest of the body.
And women also have a completely different hormonal clock. Men are on a 24-hour cycle, roughly?
Roughly, yeah.
But women are on a monthly cycle. Does that change the difficulty setting of the challenge?
It absolutely changes the threat level of the challenge, so to speak.
How so?
During ovulation, estrogen and testosterone both peak, which drives libido way up.
Yeah.
Trying to fight that urge during that window is biologically much harder than, say, during the luteal phase.
So for a woman, a 30-day challenge is like a tour through several different biological landscapes.
Exactly. Whereas for a man, it's pretty much the same battle every single day.
That's a really important distinction. It's not a flat line of difficulty at all. Okay, now I want to get to the part everyone argues about. The benefits, the so-called superpowers.
The internet mythology.
Yes. If you go on these forums, the list is just insane. My skin cleared up, my voice got deeper. Women can sense my aura from across the room. And the big one, my testosterone is through the roof. I need you to be the judge here. Is there any truth to that testosterone spike?
This is one of those cases where a tiny grain of scientific truth has been, well, blown up into a sci-fi movie.
Okay.
There is a very famous, often cited study that looked at testosterone levels during abstinence.
I think I know the one you mean, the day 7 study.
That's the one. The researchers found that on the 7th day of abstinence, serum testosterone levels in men spiked by about 145%.
145%. That's massive. So the bros are right.
Hold on. Context is everything here. They found a spike on day 7. Do you know what happened on day 8?
I have a feeling they didn't turn into the Hulk.
It dropped right back down to baseline. And it stayed there. That spike is a temporary fluctuation, a little feedback loop adjustment, not a permanent upgrade.
So the body just goes, oh, we haven't released in a while, creates a surge to try and induce libido.
And when nothing happens, it just regulates back down to normal. Homeostasis.
So if you're doing a 30-day challenge, you get one good day of high T and then 23 days of normal.
Exactly. You're not stacking testosterone. You're not building some tower of hormones. The body fights to stay balanced. In fact, there's a whole counter-argument about this when it comes to the sweet spot for fertility.
Okay, this is about sperm quality right now.
Okay,
because I've also heard that holding it in makes the seed stronger.
It's actually the opposite after a certain point.
Really?
Yeah. Urologists generally agree that the optimal window for sperm motility and health is about 2 to 5 days of abstinence.
That's short.
That's the peak. That's when you've got max volume and low oxidative stress. Once you go past a week, and certainly into the 10, 20, 30-day range, the sperm quality actually starts to degrade.
How does it degrade?
You have more dead sperm cells, more DNA fragmentation, and higher oxidative stress in the fluid because of that phagocytosis process we mentioned.
Wait, so the retention movement claims they're saving up their most potent biological material, but in reality, they're walking around with a tank full of expired goods.
From a purely fertility standpoint, yes. You might be retaining quantity, but the quality drops off a cliff. You're carrying around biological dead weight, so to speak.
That is a huge blow to the whole biological optimization argument.
It is.
If the physical benefits really peak at day 5 or 7, then the other 3 weeks are just a psychological game.
And that's where the real deep dive is, the psychology. Because even if the testosterone spike is a myth, thousands of people swear they feel different. They feel more confident, more focused. If it's not the testosterone, what is it?
Is it the dopamine, the reset we talked about earlier?
It's entirely the dopamine, but it's also the cortisol. We have to talk about the white bear problem.
The psychology experiment where if you tell someone don't think of a white bear, that is all they can possibly think about.
Exactly. When you engage in extreme restriction, you create a hyper-focus on the very thing you're restricting. For a lot of people, this doesn't create clarity. It creates chronic, low-level stress.
You're constantly policing your own thoughts.
And your own body. That takes energy.
It's that white knuckling effect. You're not in a flow state. You're in a fight state. You're literally fighting yourself.
And this is the hidden cost. For many people, sexual release orgasm is a primary regulator of cortisol and stress. It triggers the release of prolactin and oxytocin. Prolactin is the satiety hormone. It's the I'm good, I'm done, I can relax chemical.
It's post-nut clarity.
Exactly. Post-nut clarity is chemically real. It's the washing away of that dopamine-fueled desire by a wave of calming prolactin. When you remove that release valve for 30 days, you are living in a state of high dopamine, the state of wanting without the resolution of having.
So that energy and focus that people describe, it's just unrequited horniness.
To put it bluntly, yes. It's an aggressive energy because the body is in a state of seeking. For some people, that's useful. They can channel that frustration into the gym or their work. That's called sublimation.
But for others?
For others, it just manifests as irritability, anxiety, and brain fog because their cortisol levels are just creeping up and up.
So it's a real double-edged sword. You might feel more drive, but it's a restless, agitated drive. It's not peaceful.
Correct. And we have to ask the question, is a mind that's constantly fighting an urge actually a disciplined mind? Or is it just a distracted one?
That's the paradox, isn't it? You do this to become the master of your domain, but the urge ends up controlling your every waking thought. I want to circle back to something you mentioned about the female experience. We talked about the biology, but is the psychological toll different?
It can be. Women often face a different kind of societal pressure around purity culture. And sometimes these challenges can get tangled up in that. But interestingly, because the female libido is often more reactive to context, and maybe less spontaneous than the male libido, some women find the abstinence part easier.
Oh, not.
But the emotional regulation part harder.
Because they've lost that stress relief mechanism.
Exactly. Without that regular flood of oxytocin from orgasm, the emotional peaks and valleys of the month can feel much, much sharper. You're removing a buffer.
So we've debunked the testosterone myth. We've exposed the expired goods reality of long-term retention. And we figured out that the superpower feeling is mostly just dopamine withdrawal and sexual frustration.
Channeled into other things,
Where does that leave the challenge? Is it just a complete waste of time?
Not necessarily. I think we need to separate the physiology from the discipline. Physiologically, there is no magic in the number 30. Your body does not give you a gold star or a level up animation on day 30. In fact, physically, you're probably better off with a moderate cycle of release to keep all the machinery fresh.
What psychologically?
Psychologically, there can be immense value in proving to yourself that you are not a slave to your impulses. If you're someone who compulsively uses porn or masturbation to numb out, then taking a break is powerful. But it's a mental reset, not a biological one.
That's the key distinction. You're not hacking your hormones, you're hacking your habits.
Precisely. We have to be really careful about the shame aspect of this.
Right.
If you slip up on day 12, you haven't lost your gains. You haven't drained your life force. You just had a biological function.
Right. The internet culture around it can be so toxic. It frames a normal bodily function as a failure.
It turns biology into a win-loss game, which is just dangerous.
So if someone listening is, looking at their calendar, wondering if they should lock the factory gates, what's the verdict?
My advice is just to listen to the feedback loop. If you do this for a week and you feel clearer, sharper, more in control, great, keep going. But if you hit day 15 and you're anxious, you can't sleep, you're irritable, and you're obsessed with the challenge, you are not optimizing anything.
You're just stressing your system.
And the body keeps a score. It really does. There's a profound difference between suppression and regulation.
What do you mean?
Suppression is like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes constant, exhausting effort, and eventually it's going to pop up and smack you in the face. Regulation is learning to swim with the current.
I love that image. We treat our bodies like software we can just rewrite, but they're really ecosystems. You can't just turn off a river without flooding the banks somewhere else.
And that river is there for a reason. Sexual health is tied to cardiovascular health, immune health, mental health. The idea that shutting down one major gear is going to magically fix the whole machine is just a fallacy.
Balance.
Balance is usually where the actual superpower lives.
So the takeaway is, don't believe the hype about becoming a wizard, but don't discount the value of self-control.
Just don't confuse being horny with being enlightened. A healthy mind and a healthy body. That's the goal. Sometimes that means abstinence, and sometimes that means release. Your body knows the difference.
And on that note, we're going to let you get back to your own ecosystems. Listen to the machinery, folks. It's a lot smarter than you think. See you in the next deep dive.